What is going on, everybody? It's your boys from odds.com and Odds HQ, and it is the final weigh-in. We've got UFC Vegas 12, Uriah Hall squaring off against the legend, Anderson Silva. Should be a great event, a great card, a lot of solid betting spots, little chalky, but we're going to get it figured out. Let me throw it to my guys and see how everybody's doing. MMA Prediction Guru, what's up, dude?
Yeah, man, it's another interesting card. I mean, on Halloween too. It's kind of a bittersweet card with Anderson retiring and all that. But it's weird. I mean, this week he's been talking about how it's like maybe he won't retire. So who knows? But yeah, I think it's a good card and should be fun to break down. Like you said, it's a lot of chalky spots, but I think there's a couple underdogs in there that you could play potentially as well.
There you go. Cody Saftik, let them know how you're doing on a Friday night.
Doing very good and getting ready for a very spooky card that features a 45-year-old Silva. How spooky it is getting that. And we've also seen Anderson with just crazy moments, both good and bad in his career. So getting ready for another one and getting ready to break down what could be the last dance for the original GOAT. As you can see, I'm still rocking my beard for the current GOAT, one Khabib Nurmagomedov. But it's cool to talk about the OG legend, Anderson Silva, who once held that mantle very proudly.
No doubt. A real missed opportunity here. We're not going to have the crowd's not going to be full of costumed UFC freaks. So too bad. We swung and missed on that one. But we got a new guy tonight. Let me throw it to my man, MMA LOTN, MMA Lock of the Night. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you guys hitting me up. Shout out to Bleed. Shout out to Clint from Die Hard MMA Podcast. And shout out to Cynthia as well for giving me this opportunity to fill in some pretty big shoes that's been left behind. But I hope to do my best and give you guys the best analysis that I can. But yeah, got a great group of guys here. I know Cody already. I can throw a stone out my window. I could probably hit him in the head. Guru, I know I've been following him for a while now too. And Just Bleed, you guys have been killing it. So I'm looking forward to this new journey with odds. And I hope I can bring some energy and some positive analysis for you guys to help make some money for this upcoming weekend.
No doubt. Well, I tell you what, man, this is your debut. Why don't you start us off tonight? We've got Miles Johns going up against Kevin Natividad. Let us know what you're thinking, Locke.
All right, so the odds have been kind of getting closer and closer as the week has been going on. We got minus 150 now on Miles Johns. When I recorded my own breakdown for this fight, we had roughly around minus 190 for Miles Johns, and it's making sense as to why there's money coming in on Kevin Natividad. I'm still on the Miles Johns side, though. But with that said, I'm not super confident in terms of even betting him here. Maybe even if we got pick'em line, I probably wouldn't even be confident in betting him there either. Strong wrestling, we obviously know about that. Obviously lost his last fight last time against Mario Bautista. And I think it was really the range in that fight that really screwed him up. Having to deal with that, the length advantage that Mario Bautista had there. It was a little bit harder for him to really get in and land those like blitzing shots that he's known for doing. And then obviously his wrestling, he couldn't really get that going either. I think he's going to have a little bit more success fighting a guy that's roughly around his size here against Kevin Natividad. I got a lot of shit on Kevin Natividad, not properly breaking him down in my own breakdown, but I still don't see anything that really jumps off the page about this guy. You know what I mean? He has a 9-second knockout on his record. Didn't really get to see him truly flush out that fight to see how we would have really done. But I like Miles Johns here. Like, I think he'll be able to maybe not necessarily get the fight to the ground, but like in those scrappy clinch positions, he'll probably get the better of those. Probably the stronger guy as well too. I think he needs to be a little bit sketchy regarding his cardio itself, because I have seen him slow down in past fights, and I feel like Natividad is the kind of guy that could actually get you out of there in the third round, but I don't think that's a high likelihood of happening. I do like Miles Johns here. I think he gets it done by decision, but just something seems off here. It's his first ever career loss he's coming off of, so let's see how he bounces back. Save Sayoud's in his corner. I love those guys at Forest MMA. They're an amazing camp. So I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of Miles Johns we get rebounding from his first loss. I think he wins, but not confident enough to lay any money on him here.
There you go. Guru, how do you feel about this one?
Yeah. Like you said, this is a close fight, and I agree with the line movement. I think it should have been open like closer to a pick'em, And the thing is about this fight is I feel like on the feet, it's pretty close, but I'm just not a big fan of Miles Johns striking. I feel like Natividad is a lot more fluid, better head movement. He's going to be the one coming forward, in my opinion. Miles Johns, he kind of just throws like big overhands, tries to get you against the cage, take you down, and Natividad, he's a pretty good scrambler. He's a brown belt himself in jiu-jitsu, decent wrestler. And just the big thing to me that the difference in the fight is just the cardio, like MMA Lock of the Night said, because you've seen, Miles Johns get tired in both of his UFC fights and other fights as well. And I just feel like Natividad does push, high of enough pace to get him tired. I feel like he's going to make him work to take him down. If he does get him down, scramble, be able to get back up to his feet. And so I'm just going to go with Kevin Natividad in a close decision, kind of just edging it out with the cardio advantage and the volume on the feet. But now that the line's a lot closer, I feel like maybe it's just a pass at that line. When it opened, I feel like there was value on Natividad at that point, though. But right now, I'd probably just pass at the current line.
Understandable. Cody Safdie, how do you feel about this one, man?
Yeah, I agree. I think people are hard pressed to get a good lean on either side. So when it opens up and you've got good dog money on one person, you kind of think to yourself, you know what? Why not just ride the underdog? And that's Natividad. But now that the line's getting closer, I personally got to go with Johns as well. I just think that maybe he's going to make this a close fight and be able to grind out a close decision. If it's going to be close, why not just go with the value side? And I do see a lot of merit to Natividad. Like Guru said, he's a BJJ brown belt, but also out of Arizona Combat Sports. The guy's actually not too bad with his wrestling. Johns, for as good of a wrestler he is, he almost does struggle with his takedowns a lot, especially holding guys down. So I don't know that that's going to be his avenue to victory right away. If this ends up being a striking fight, even though he's got a 1-inch height advantage, he's giving up 4 inches in the reach department. And I also think that he won't be the aggressor. So it just depends kind of what the judges are looking at. If this is in Abu Dhabi, I'm almost definitely not taking Miles John because they don't seem to score the wrestling, couple takedowns here and there. They're mostly going with that advanced pressure and significant shots landed, which I expect Natividad to have. In Vegas, you know what? It's anybody's guess. I mean, are they going to go with John's landing a couple of good shots? We saw him on the Contender Series look tired against Richie Santiago, but I mean, knocked down, 80 significant strikes landed, multiple takedowns. It was a high-pressured fight. He's also got a win over Adrian Yanez, we'll talk about later. And again, it's a 5-round fight, LFA. It didn't seem like cardio was a problem in those fights. It's just since you've seen him in the UFC, he's been knocked out. And his debut against Cole, he did look fatigued in that fight a little bit. He's only 26 years old. I expect him to get a little bit better. I would say close fight, close decision, Miles John, but I'm probably leaning towards a pass on this fight overall.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, man, I feel the same way. Like, to me, the craziest part about this fight really was the opening lines we got. All of us sound like we thought this fight should have been lined tremendously closer. If you got Natividad at that plus 175, man, more power to you. That's probably a very high value bet. Hard to be mad at that. I think this fight should be probably about a pick 'em, but at the same time, I take everything into account. I do feel like Miles Johns has had the much higher level of competition. He's got the slightly more impressive resume. Natividad, quite a few cans involved, but nonetheless, he's been very good. Unfortunately, he did get that big KO very quickly in a fight against a guy who isn't very good if we're just keeping it short and sweet. But all things said, when I think about this fight, I lean ever so slightly to Miles Johns. But like I said, if you got that good plus money on Natividad, more power to you, probably a good bet. So second fight of the night, we've got Dustin Jacoby going up against Justin Ledet. Guru, can you kick us off on this one?
Yeah, this is an interesting fight. I mean, Justin Ledet, he's kind of on a skid now, 3 in a row. So I feel like the UFC does want Dustin Jacoby to come in here and get a win because stylistically, when you look at Justin Ledet too, he's kind of a boxer. He has a good jab. And at heavyweight, I mean, he was really pretty fast. He was able to kind of use that jab and coast to decisions, has a pretty good check left hook. And he was competitive with Alexa Kamor in his last fight. Some people, argue he could win the fight. I thought that he lost, but in this fight, I mean, I do feel like Jacoby is, the better striker. He, has fought in glory, things like that, but he does get tired in fights. And I am a little bit worried about that third round with Jacoby. But, people are talking about Justin Ledet's grappling. I'm not sure he's going to be able to take him down, man. I just don't think he's like an explosive wrestler. I don't think he has a fast level change. So he took down like Mark Godbeer in the UFC, but I don't think Mark Godbeer's a UFC level guy. And even Mark Godbeer probably could have got up and he went for a leg lock and got his back taken, got submitted. I don't think Jacoby's going to be going for leg locks if he gets taken down, things like that. So I feel like Jacoby probably should win the fight. He's the better striker. He's probably going to put more damage on Ledet, have the better shots. And I think he could chop down his leg with the low kicks, but it's kind of a sketchy fight with Jacoby, man. I don't really trust him 100%, but I think he should probably get it done.
Cody Safdie, how do you feel about this one?
Yeah, it just almost seems like there's just way too much money on Jacoby right now. The actually fight opened up at minus 170, Dustin Jacoby. And at that price point, you're definitely going to go with the more polished former Glory kickboxing veteran. He's just got a better stand-up game, I think, altogether for MMA. As Guru mentioned, his takedown defense chalks up, bad at a better camp. Cardio, I believe, is an issue, but again, it's because he exerts himself for a lot of these finishes. Even in his kickboxing career, he just kind of goes out for that finish a little too quick. That's going to be a problem against Justin Ledet because he's super durable. So I agree that there's definitely a scenario where Dustin Jacoby gets a little overzealous, goes out there, blows the tank within the first 2 rounds, wins the first 2 rounds. But at that point, it just comes down to, is Justin Ledet going to knock him out? And that I'm not so sure. Like, yeah, he's got a good jab, but jabs are just not generating power. He hasn't actually knocked out an opponent since 2012. And that's when he was fighting low-level guys on the regional scene. So if he's down 2 rounds going into the third, I don't know that a good Justin Ledet landing, on Dustin Jacoby is enough to knock him out. I'm just not so sure. But again, now that Jacoby's gone all the way to minus 370, now you start to worry that the problem with Jacoby is that when he had his first go around in the UFC way back when, he just wasn't ready. He didn't have the striking skills. He didn't have the wrestling skills. He just wasn't really at that level. He got released from the UFC, goes to Glory, and right away, he was just a can opponent in Glory. But he stuck around, and he got better, and he won this contract that allowed him to train in the Netherlands for a year. And then he started getting some fights, and then he started getting a little bit better. But when he would drop back to MMA, it wasn't like he was a standout. He actually signed to Bellator, again, fanned out of that promotion as well. He won his last fight against Cody East, but it was at heavyweight. And now you see him on Contender Series. And listen, he looked okay on Contender Series, but he was a big favorite there as well. Like, he was supposed to go and run through that guy, and he did. But he didn't look maybe as good as everybody would have liked. So against Ledet, he could have problems. At 350, minus 355, I think it's currently sitting. And there I got a problem. At 170, I got no problem. At minus 200, I got no problem. At minus 235, 240, I probably hit it because I'm a degenerate. But once it starts getting like north of 300, 350, like now you've definitely got a problem on your hands. So unless you use them as parlay material, sure, but Ledet's got some merit to him, right? My last thing with Ledet, though, is that with the fight with Chase Sherman, he lands 113 significant strikes. He's got an 80-inch reach. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage in here. He could just stay to the outside and use that jab. But you got to think that the low kicks from Justin Jacoby are eventually going to add up, eventually slow this guy down. Once he's a mobile target, hit him a few times. And if they've done their tape on him, they've seen he's a pretty durable guy. So, just don't go out there and push for the quick finish in the first round. At least bank to survive that third, 29-28 worst-case scenario for Dustin Jacoby.
There you go. Locke, how do you feel about this one?
I remember the days of watching Justin Ledet face Chase Sherman, like Cody was saying, and kind of being impressed. Like, he showed solid footwork. He showed a good jab. He showed solid fundamentals when he came to the boxing game. And I'm like, okay, this guy has a little bit of potential. Then we start, he gets a rear naked choke over Mark Garbier, who's like killing it in bare knuckle boxing now, right? Let him. That's probably what he's made for a little bit more. Hence why he got rear naked choked by a guy like Justin Ledet. Then he gets a decision victory over Anyanwu. And then he falls on tough times. Can you really blame him for losing to Alexander Rakic the way he did? 30-24, pretty much. I think that was the scorecard on that fight. Johnny Walker, quick knockout. And then Alexa Kammer was a little bit closer compared to the other ones. But I truly thought that Ledet had a little bit more to offer, but he really hasn't evolved. Like, the guy just sticks with the hands, and that's really about it. Footwork is okay and all that, but it's nothing that's going to blow your hair back at this point. I was looking at him at that Chase Sherman fight and be like, all right, we got somebody in this light heavyweight division that could truly make some noise. But man, the lack of evolution has been so disconcerting with the guy. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't even want to bother like looking too much further into him. Dustin Jacoby, on the other hand, he's like Justin Ledet, but like with way more weapons. He's a really good striker, obviously, with the Glory kickboxing, like my guys already touched on. Yeah, the cardio could use a little bit of help, but can we give him a quick shout out for having that run that he had on, June 29, 2019, where he fought 3 times, kickboxing, boxing, and MMA. Terrence Hodges, the OG legend, Tony Lopez. Shout out Tony Lopez. Just give that guy a UFC fight just for the heck of it. I don't care if he's 75 years old. Just let him go in there with freaking Jake Collier if we need to. And then, Cody East was his other MMA victory that he got that night. So, fighting 3 times one night, he looked actually pretty good. And then the Ty Flores one. Why the hell was Flores not going out? He got hit with a lot of bombs, and I think Dustin Jacoby really he overexerted himself there, which is why we saw so many of those cardiosas in that third round. I think if he's able to pace himself, work with the leg kicks, because we know that's kind of what Dustin. I keep screwing up the Justin and Dustin here. Let's just go with Ledet and Jacoby if we can. But if he can work on the lead leg of Ledet, really start like kicking him, start to render him immobile if pretty much that would be the best way to go about this, so that he can work with his hands, his elbows, and really open up the head for some more strikes, the body work as well too. I like Jacoby here. I like him closer to that minus 170 line, like the opening. I think the odds makers got it right there, but I don't want to touch this at minus 400. I know there's a ton of chalk on this card, but this is one of the ones that I feel least likely is a lock of the night play, if you want to call it. There's shameless little plug right there. But I don't want to touch Dustin Jacoby here at that minus 400 range. Even in a parlay, I'm okay with just sitting back. And I can't really make a decision on whether this is going to go under 2.5 or over 2.5. Like, primarily when we have two strikers, especially in the higher weight classes, I like going with the unders. You know what I mean? Especially if you're giving me 2.5 rounds. Again, they're primarily strikers too, but Justin Ledet just doesn't really throw much power. That's the one concern there. And then again, if this does get into the third round, we do see a little bit of cardio issues from Dustin Jacoby, then we're looking at a 15-minute fight there. So I will go with Jacoby here. I'm not so confident in him at that minus 400 range. I don't even know if I want to parlay him here. I don't know if Cody's going to put him all the way up in his pie parlays that he has. But I'm not too fond of Jacoby here. We really need to see him work out this fight. This is a good fight for him to get back into the UFC. So let's see how he does, see how the cardio looks, and then we'll go forward from there.
Yeah, I tell you what, man, I feel pretty much the same way. And it's the pick's Jacoby for me. It's like, how I understand how you could take Ledet here, but my goodness, a guy 3-fight losing streak. Now, is he fighting high-level competition in at least 2 of the 3? Well, that's arguable. I definitely like Rakic. Johnny Walker, we're still kind of finding out what Johnny Walker's bringing. But I tell you what, Alexa Kammer, I don't think that guy's too good, and he got it done against Ledet. Dustin Jacoby, second stint in the UFC, the Glory Kickboxing. We've touched on everything here. Do we like the number he's at? Absolutely not. I mean, he's kind of become, I'm not going to call him a victim, but, minus 170. Yeah, that's accurate, man. That's probably exactly where this should be. The problem with this card in general is we've got so many big favorites. Now it's like these, middle tier, lower tier guys that should be, a moderate, mild favorite. Everyone's jumping on trying to get, something better than a minus 250, minus 300 spot. Well, that money rolls in, blows him up right up into that range as well. Does he deserve to be there? Absolutely not. Do I think he should win the fight? I do, but man, we've got so many other spots with a similar number. I got a little bit of a funny feeling about this one. I could see Ledet winning this one, but the pick is Dustin Jacoby, no doubt. All right, here we go. Ooh, you want to talk high-level talent, boys? We got Jason Witt going up against Cole Williams. Cody Safdie, why don't you start us off here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, very difficult fight to get a good read on. And then the weigh-ins happens, and it's just like, one final wrench in your plans. To be honest, Cole Williams was a guy at one point didn't seem so bad. You look at his record and just like, meh. But he was actually on Bellator's Fight Master show. If you guys remember that from way back in the day, it was like Bellator's one attempt at recreating the Ultimate Fighter. It happens in 2013, and Cole Williams ends up being the 5th overall ranked guy in the show, ends up on Team Randy Couture, wins his first 2 fights in the show, look pretty good. And then he gets a fight with Joe Riggs, who's the number 1 seeded guy in the show. Spoiler alert, 2013, Joe Riggs wins the whole thing. And Cole Williams fights him to like a close split decision, right? Could have gone either way. Loses the fight to Riggs, who's a monstrous welterweight, one of the biggest welterweights you'll ever see. It looked decent for Cole Williams. He's a guy that's wrestled. He's out of Iowa, your home state. You should back him a little bit. I've seen at his camp. I mean, it seems like he spends a lot of time working on his boxing. His camp's primarily a lot of like former Iowa Golden Glove guys. It seems like he's got skills here and there. His takedown defense is okay. He's got some okay power. And then since then, there's just been really no improvements from Cole Williams. He took a lot of time off. I actually offered him a fight one time. It was a rematch versus Joe Riggs for a promotion up in Alberta. And he said he wanted $10,000. Wasn't overly interested in fighting, but if the money was right, then he would do it. And then all of a sudden, bam, COVID happens. Now we need bodies. Now we need guys that are going to fill in these roster spots. Cole Williams gets to call up against Claudio Silva. I thought maybe he'd give an okay account of himself. Here's your UFC debut. You never thought it was going to happen. Here's the payday you were looking for. He blows up the weigh-in. Doesn't look good. Misses weight grossly. Comes in against Silva. Poses 0 threats to him. Has been off a year. I truly didn't even think they'd give him another fight. And then he takes this one, relatively short notice. I still got him on Facebook because I offered him that fight one time, and he hadn't announced anything until like a few weeks prior. It was just like taking another fight in the UFC, and then he bombs the weigh-ins again. Comes in 5 pounds overweight. So my God, is that going to help him or not? Because it could help him when you consider he is bigger than Jason Witt. Jason Witt's also been knocked out 4 times as a professional, knocked out twice as an amateur. Has also been severely rocked in a couple of his wins. He's a guy that doesn't really have a great chin. He's gone on record saying that his game plan for this fight is to press him up against the cage and get him down. But Williams' takedown defense really not all that bad. So if Cole can just keep the fight standing, force a couple of these striking exchanges, Witt's faster. Witt's got probably the sharper technical boxing, but he just can't be trusted in taking the punch resistance. So I just almost feel that like if he struggles to take him down, at some point Williams is going to hit him with something and hurt him. That's if the 5 pounds helps him out. Harder to take down. Cardio won't be as bad. Fucking guy gave up 40% of his purse. You have to win at this point. You have to win and get your win bonus, so this is really a waste of time. So like maybe it plays out towards him or maybe it doesn't. Maybe he is that still fat, out of shape. He's posting pictures with Anderson Silva today. He didn't look in good shape. Missed weight. Could honestly go either way. I want that dog play because I got it like closer to a 50-50 fight, and it's just like give me a dog or pass. But truthfully, the smart play is probably just hit the pass. I'm going to go dog or pass, but could kind of go either way. And they're two very middling, low-level talents in the UFC at this point.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Locke, what do you think?
I can't believe this is even on a UFC card. Let's just start off with that. Like I was very stunned to have to go into and actually tape this fight. For me, it's the only way I would play this fight is if I got Jason Witt at plus money. And obviously that's not going to happen now. We're less than 24 hours away from this fight happening. And there's no way that there's going to be a surge of money coming in on Cole Williams at this point in time. On one of his fights, they said that he had over 100 wrestling matches in high school or college or something like that. It doesn't really showcase that in his fights. You see him like kind of going like a John Phillips style. Like the guy just likes to throw bombs and kind of slug it out. And there are certain exchanges where like the last 30 seconds around, he'll go for a takedown, but that's after his opponent has already eaten so many shots. Jason Witt, on the other hand, looks like he likes to go for the takedowns more often than not, you know? And for me, I always like to side with the grappler over a striker, but my hesitancy here is that Jason Witt's not that good either. That's the one thing. He does have chin issues. He does have durability issues, and Cole Williams could definitely crack and cause some issues here for Jason Witt. Jason Witt's just coming off, I believe it's 4 months ago where he got knocked out by Takashi Sato. So you got to keep that in mind in terms of where he's at with his durability. But in terms of skill for skill, I like Jason Witt. I don't want to play him at minus 145. I'd only play him at plus money here. Cole Williams could absolutely land a bomb. Like I said, like Cody said, he has an extra 5 pounds to add to that knockout power of his, or even to add to the takedown defense of his too. Because if Jason Witt doesn't get this to the ground, anybody who laid money on Jason Witt's going to be sweating their ass off. That's for sure. With that said, this is a complete pass of a fight. If you want to have some fun, go with the under 2.5 plus 160. That's not too bad of a line if you think that Cole Williams actually has the shot of knocking him out, or if Jason Witt gets this to the ground, pulls off some ground and pound or something like that, or a submission of some sort. The under 2.5 is a lot more sexy to me than actually picking a side here. But I will go with Jason Witt to win this by decision. You know what? I'm going to take him by second round ground and pound. But still, Cole Williams has some fucking bombs in his hands, and that's my only concern. I want to sit back, probably skip this fight to even watch. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go out, grab a snack or something, come back. But I like Jason Witt here, but not enough to play or risk my money at all.
Understandable. Guru, how you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of broke it down pretty good. I do think Jason Witt is probably even better on the feet. I mean, he switches stances and he definitely throws a lot more volume, but it's just the chin issues, man. His chin isn't very good. So it's like Cole Williams does have that cross that he throws down the middle, and he's pretty powerful. He has decent wrestling as well. So I think it's just he might push Witt early, but seeing him at the weigh-ins, I already thought that he was gonna, slow down after that first round, and now he missed weight again like that. I feel like, I don't know, it could, like Cody said, maybe it will help him, but I feel like maybe he's just not gonna have the cardio after the first round, So I do like the fight doesn't go the distance. It was at like plus 150, plus 145, and when you look at it, I mean, Witt does have a few decision wins, but Cole Williams in both of his losses, he got finished, and Jason Witt, he's been finished in all of his losses. So I just feel like it's a low level fight, man. I don't think that Cole Williams is going to be able to go the 3 rounds if he can't get him out of there in the first round, and I feel like he has potential to knock Jason Witt out too. So I feel like the fight doesn't go the distance is a pretty decent play, but I don't want anything to do with either side there.
Yeah, it makes sense, man. I mean, how you can really get a rock solid read on this fight's truly beyond me, because I've been trying all week and I really just can't do it. I'm going to tell you guys what, though. This show is the final weigh-in, man. Cody Safdie, you mentioned you weren't sure if Williams thought he was going to get another fight. Well, I got to tell you something. Based off how this guy came in looking today, I think he thought he wasn't going to get another fight. Looks to me like this dude just totally took some time off, may have ballooned up, and then found out, 2-3 weeks ago, time to kick the diet into effect, start hitting the gym. I'm getting another shot here. Dude did not look good to me at weigh-ins at all. If anything, I thought he looked a little weirder, a little sloppier than he even did in his debut. And boy, that was not an impressive debut. As far as a pick, I'm going to go Witt here. But man, it's a total. I'm with you, Guru, man. I'm not getting on either side of this. I am debating fight does not go the distance at the plus money. That seems a little bit crazy. Both guys have a propensity to finish. You take Williams in there out of shape, man. I think Williams might only have a round and a half of cardio in him, or he goes in there and knocks Witt out. You know what I'm saying? So definite possibility this fight doesn't make it to the scorecards. I'll take Witt as the pick, but boy, that's a fight that, like you said, Guru, man, I don't want my money on either side of that fight. Here's a fight I may want my money on a side. We got Sean Strickland going up against Jack Marshman. Locke, can you get us going on this one?
All right, everybody, hold on to your hats. I'm going to use that godforsaken word. This is my lock of the night play. I got Sean Strickland. Last week, I got him at minus 245. I love Strickland in this spot. Jack Marshman going into this, I kept telling all my buddies, I'm like, this is your last chance to fade John Phillips. And I may have, given Jack Marshman a little bit too much slack there. When you actually look at the tape, he has better footwork than John Phillips. He moves a little bit better. He's not just trudging forward, trying to throw winging shots. I'll give him that much. He does have a little bit better footwork. But all in all, Sean Strickland has fought much better strikers, in my opinion. He's going to be, the farthest fluid guy in terms of managing the distance, getting his kicks off. The time he got knocked out by Elizio Zaleski dos Santos, that was something that completely caught him off guard. I mean, that's something like a spinning back kick. He thought he had it blocked. It comes over the top of his hand, hits him in the back of the head, and he gets rocked. There's no way Jack Marshman's throwing anything like that in this fight. He's going to see everything coming his way. Not to mention the jiu-jitsu advantage that Sean Strickland's going to have here too. I believe he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, so even if he gets this fight to the ground, I could see him locking up a submission as well too. Initially, when I broke down this fight, I thought it was going to be more so a Sean Strickland going out there and just kind of beating him up on the feet. Maybe not outpointing, but absolutely finishing him later in the fight too. But Strickland, man, like he's going out there and beating guys like Tom Breeze, who in my opinion are like at the top of their game. They're like one of the best strikers, like top 5 strikers if Tom Breeze is absolutely on. Sean Strickland looks freaking phenomenal when he is on his game. Yeah, he's coming off a pretty significant motorcycle injury and all that type of stuff, but I think this is a perfect cupcake fight for him to get back into the UFC. I know it's a weight class higher that he's normally fighting at too, but still, I think this is an easy fight for him. I like him to either outpoint this on the feet or even get it to the ground and pull off a submission himself too. I think Jack Marshman's almost a fish out of water when he gets to the ground, so I think that he's going to be in a little bit of trouble when he gets there. But I truly love Strickland here. As soon as this fight was announced, I jumped into the tape and I was waiting for limits to open up. Got my limits open up on Bookmaker. Got him at minus 245. I just hammered that shit right away. I'm just like, I knew Strickland was going to be my play here. I try not to go in with a biased opinion either when I'm going into tape, right? You want to go in there clean slate, look at both guys, without any bias. And I still came out on the outside thinking that Sean Strickland is going to go out there and do work. Now, I was initially hesitant in terms of whether this was going to go over or under 2.5 rounds. I love the under 2.5 here, even at plus. I personally, I played it myself at plus 115 or sorry, plus 113. I like the plus money here. I think it's either Jack Marshman, he lands a Hail Mary KO of some sort, or we get Sean Strickland going out there and actually doing, getting the takedown, doing some work on the feet. Like he is good enough on the feet to do work and keep Jack Marshman thinking that this is going to be a striking fight, and then pull out a takedown just out of nowhere, catch Jack Marshman, slipping. Gets him to the ground, do some jiu-jitsu, whatever it is, get a choke, get a ground and pound, whatever it is. I think Marshman is completely outmatched here, and this is the last time we're probably going to get to bet him here. He has a win over John Phillips, pretty much mirror fight, but again, a guy with a slightly better footwork, and Jack Marshman is the one who's able to pull it off there. But yeah, I don't see how he beats Strickland here. Hail Mary KO, but I think that's very, very low percentage. So I love Sean Strickland here. Obviously, he's minus 355 now. I would rather parlay him at this point with a guy like Yanez or somebody else later in the card. But I love that spot at minus 245, and I hammered that with like no tomorrow. There you go. Guru, how you feeling about it?
Yeah, I agree with what he said. I mean, for Strickland to lose this fight, he's going to have to make a mistake, and Marshman's going to catch him. But another thing to piggyback off he said, or a couple more things is, at the weigh-ins, Marshman missed weight. I thought he looked like really soft. And if you look at his record, he's 1-5 outside of the UK. So he doesn't really do very well when he has to travel, like come to the United States, go somewhere else. So that could also potentially be like a reason why he missed weight. He is older as well. And yeah, I just feel like Strickland is better everywhere, but he could make it an easy fight. I feel like if he wants to get it to the ground, he'll be able to get a rear naked choke pretty easily, take the back, or, finish with ground and pound. But if he keeps it on the feet and, it could potentially, Marshman could have some moments, but I still feel like he'll easily control the striking on the feet too and be able to get the win. So I do feel like Strickland is, a pretty safe play to put in parlays and stuff like that.
There you go. Cody Saftik, give us your thoughts, please.
Yeah, so I agree on a lot of points. Obviously, with Sean Strickland, it's like here's a guy that's he turned professional at 17 years old, 3 weeks after his 17th birthday. He's been fighting for 12 years. He's fought no less than 2 times a year, every single year since 2009. So on one hand, it's like maybe that time off would help a guy. Maybe that time off kind of rejuvenates you and sets you. But dude, it was a motorcycle accident. And like that's just one thing I'm having difficulty because Sean Strickland, far superior fighter. He's a far better grappler, far better wrestler, far better striker, far better, cleaner boxing technique. And Marshman was actually a former Welsh army boxing champion. He's been fighting for 10 years himself. He's known for his hands. But you've been seeing him fight for 10 years. No development to his game. Ground game got a little bit better, but outside of that, not much. His output, not great. He relies a little bit on the fact that he has some power, but I don't think he's knocking out Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland, at the very least, could just outpoint this guy with the jab from the outside and a few kicks, make it a slow-paced fight, and win. All that. But you got a massive knee injury and a massive motorcycle accident. And so as much as I'm on Sean Strickland, I'm going to bet Sean Strickland. And sure enough, you guys know me. I'm going to parlay Sean Strickland. One thing worth noting is like he got in a motorcycle accident that sidelined him for 2 years. And as much as you can all just say like, oh yeah, he's going to come back better. Or, oh man, he wouldn't be fighting if he wasn't ready. Frank Mir had that motorcycle accident as well, way back in the day. Frank Mir was the UFC champion. He beat Tim Sylvia. He took exactly 2 years off. He came back to the sport. He was still only 26 years old. He fought Marcio Cruz. He was a 3-1 favorite. He got fucked up by Marcio Cruz. Marcio Cruz absolutely battered him, knocked him out in the first round. He was a 3-1 favorite. But the motorcycle accident, you don't know how it changes your psyche. You don't know how it changes your body. You don't know. It's like, it's not as if, oh, well, he hurt his hand, so he's been working on other things. It's like he wrecked his body. So you almost got to see Sean Strickland fight one time before you really know what you're getting yourself into. But that being said, I mean, if he's half the man that he was against Nordine Taleb, he wins this fight. And I have to assume he's still only 29 years old. It's not like he's completely shop-worn. He hasn't taken a whole lot of damage in his fighting career. Again, the little bit of the time off would actually help him in some ways, but, not when you're laid up in a bed. So I got Sean Strickland. I'm going to bet Sean Strickland. But I do got this like gut feeling that it's like it'd be nice to bet Sean Strickland next time out when you've got a better idea of it's like, oh, his cardio's still good. Like, oh, his footwork's still good. Oh, his athleticism still good. Oh, his eagerness. Like Sean Strickland's a guy that was risk adverse. Like there's a lot of times it's like, dude, you could win this fight if you just pressed forward a little bit, if you just threw a little bit more. But it's like he doesn't quite jump into the fire. Now he's coming back after the layoff. Now he's coming back after some mental uncertainty. You just don't fully know. But I agree with you. I think we're all going to take Sean Strickland here. I have not met anybody who's picking Jack Marshman. Not one. But I have met a few people who are the same boat as me that they're like, yeah, you know what? I'm a little bit nervous about the accident, but he's a far superior fighter.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, you guys, I think you guys nailed it. I mean, we got to talk about, Sean Strickland moving up a weight class, and I was very interested to see how he looked today at weigh-ins, were we going to see, a less, a more out of shape Sean Strickland? Was he going to have issues with the knee? Maybe he's not going to be able to get in the cardio. It's been 2 years, though. I believe that the knee's rehab, but Cody, I'm with you, man. We're going to learn a lot about Sean Strickland in this fight. We're going to find out if Sean Strickland's a guy we can back in the future, or maybe we see a Sean Strickland that's just not the same guy anymore. 2 years, I mean, outside of a motorcycle accident, you take 2 years off in the fight game, you might be a different person just from the time off, right? Then we throw in the motorcycle accident. I tell you what, though, guys, I think we'd have to see a severely diminished Sean Strickland in this spot to lose to a guy like Jack Marshman. We talked about Marshman, man. He showed up looking about as bad as Cole Williams did. Really unimpressed by the physique here out of him. And I don't know, man. Like Marshman, I kind of get that feeling, he's one of these guys that, we keep around as, the soft welcome back for a guy like a Sean Strickland in this spot. I got Sean Strickland in this one. Absolutely got him parlayed. Did end up getting him at a far better number than he is right now. But what are we going to do, man? Chalky card, heavy favorites. I still feel like Sean Strickland wins this fight the vast, vast majority of the time. Give me Sean Strickland. He'd have to come out there and really disappoint, I think, to lose this fight to Marshman. So we are still on the prelims. We've got a banger. Adrian Yanez going up against Victor Rodriguez. Cody, why don't you start us off here?
Yeah, Adrian Yanez, we got another big favorite on the card. Young kid, 26 years old, making his UFC debut. So that in itself, we always talk about the worries of the bright lights and this and that. But what we saw from Contender Series, you and I all, you, me, and Guru, I believe, watched that one together. Man, this guy's got the goods. He's still developing, he's still green, but he's got quick hands, good boxing, good power behind him. He's already got a lot of experience when you consider he is so young, but he's already competed at a fairly high level, fought for an LFA championship, already fought a couple UFC veterans. It just seems like he's really coming to his own. I was really interested in Adrian Yanez versus Aaron Phillips because, Aaron Phillips is a guy that's got a little bit of durability issues. Was a good fight for an up-and-coming guy like Yanez, debut, see where he stands, kind of a litmus test, but you've obviously got him. Now taking on a short-notice replacement, that obviously is going to play into his favor. It's the nature of the short-notice replacement of Victor Rodriguez. It's nothing against Rodriguez, is that one, we don't got a whole lot of stuff that we can work with in terms of footage that's available on him. But what we can assume is that he's operating at a fairly low level. All of his fights have pretty much been on the Alaska regional scene. He's been fighting low-level guys, even though there's some glimpses of he looks like he's a grindy style grappler. It looks like he's aggressive enough, strong, likes to come forward, in good shape. He just seems very hittable. He seems very open. He seems very... there's going to be those openings, and Yanez is going to probably spark this guy early, and within 1.5 rounds, I would imagine, probably takes him out. Now, again, whenever you got a guy that's young and debuting and you're overhyping him, you don't like paying these minus 400 price tags. So, again, I'll admit, just like every other fight on this card, when it got announced, it was Chalk City to an end. When they opened these lines, it was already Chalk City. It's just that all those favorites got steamed, and now they're really sitting at a very worrisome price where you almost feel like taking a shot on a few dogs. Only Victor Rodriguez is not the kind of dog that I want to take my shot on. So I got Adrian Yanez beating him with his superior striking. Also, Yanez has fought guys like Miles John in the past. He's had to go into some deeper waters, and he's fought in better grapplers and better wrestlers than Victor Rodriguez. And he always does find a way to scramble, get back up, give a good account of himself. He's hard to hold down. So really, Rodriguez's only path of victory is maybe use that, I don't even know if I'd call it size, but if he's got a bit of a strength, press him up against the cage, try to take him down. I just don't think it's going to work. And when they're standing, Yanez will show the boxing advantage. He'll show the speed advantage, and I think he's going to catch him at some point. So sign me up for Adrian Yanez, and I'm going to take him probably by knockout to try to improve that price.
Lock, let us know.
This is a complete mismatch. I know both of them are making their UFC debuts here, but you're going to see the level of skill Adrian Yanez has against this guy and Victor Rodriguez. And personally, sometimes I like blindly fading guys that come over from Alaska FC, but then when you actually look at the tape of some of these guys, it's warranted. Yeah, I mean, the Tristan Lowe fight for Victor Rodriguez, that one was tough. First of all, it's on a show called Blood, Sweat, and Beers.
Oh,
okay. So that's one. They're fighting outside in a WWF ring. So the referee's fully dolled up in that blue referee shirt and all that stuff. It was hilarious. But that kid looked like he did not want to be there at all. Victor Rodriguez is just tossing him around the cage. It looked like somebody got a sentence to 15 minutes with a professional MMA fighter. It was horrible. And that was only 3 fights ago for Victor Rodriguez. His last fight against Jared Mazurek was somebody with a decent record, 8-1. But once you actually start watching that fight, it looked like Mazurek just didn't want to be in there either. That second round, the guy was huffing and puffing, and Victor Rodriguez himself looked a little bit gassed too. It wasn't a super high-paced fight or anything like that, but it looked like Rodriguez, wanted to get his shots off in terms of his striking and all that, wanted to get the takedown here and there too, but it didn't seem like he had the sustainability of doing that over 15 minutes. Luckily for him, halfway through that second round, he was able to get the finish there. But man, it when he was striking, it almost looked like it was in slow motion compared to what we've been seeing with Adrian Yanez. And I think it's going to catch him completely off guard. Yanez is going to go in there, get his hands working. I don't even think he's going to have to throw kicks. They should just have a stipulation there where Yanez is not allowed to throw kicks to make it a little bit of an even fight. But Yanez is still going to go in there, do work with his hands. I think he'll be able to get Rodriguez out of there in the first round. I don't think it's going to look close at all. Minus 400 makes sense here. Personally, I wanted to play the inside the distance, which I think is probably around minus 200 at this point for Yanez. But yeah, Yanez is a perfect parlay piece for this card. One of the higher ups. I personally have him on a parlay with Holland as well too. I love him, Chalk City, but he's definitely worth it here. Yanez is a talent to watch in the UFC. In that bantamweight division, I think he has a bright future. And unfortunately for Victor Rodriguez, this is his welcoming to the UFC. I think it's going to be short-lived. He'll probably only be in the UFC for 2 or 3 fights, kind of doing the jobber role. But yeah, I like Yanez to win this fight. He's going to starch him on the feet, and it's not even going to look competitive at all. So I got Yanez first round KO.
Woo, I like it. Guru, how you feeling?
Yeah, man. I mean, I gotta agree with everything they said. I was watching a few Victor Rodriguez's fights and just not very impressed. I mean, he throws like these windmill punches, super open, super hittable, and his kicks are okay, and he is like fast and aggressive. I mean, I think he has all his wins by KO TKO, but I just think he's gonna play right into Yanez's hands. I think he's gonna come in confident, on the feet. I think he's gonna think that he's going to be able to, get in the pocket and trade with Yanez. And I think the speed and just the boxing difference is going to be immense, and I think Yanez is going to be able to probably knock him out in the first round. I saw that Yanez by KO TKO is like -150. I mean, I feel like that's a pretty good value there. I don't really think he's going to get a submission unless like he drops him and then like catches him in a choke or something. So I feel like it'll probably be a knockout, and I think it's going to be like early in the first round. So yeah, it doesn't seem like any of us are giving Rodriguez much of a shot here.
He doesn't deserve it.
I'm not either. I got Yanez in this one. It's like Cody said, we watched this guy on our Tuesday night show, and man, came out there, showed some lightning hands that connected very accurately. I want to say that was a sub 1 minute KO. I mean, it wasn't like, a stiffened body on the ground KO, but the ref had to get in there and save that guy. I mean, he was blatantly out on his feet. Yanez, super crisp hands, man. I like what I'm seeing. Rodriguez, you watch the tape. He seems to be one of these, unfortunately, these Alaskan guys. It just does not go well for him. Locke, you touched on it, man. These Alaskan guys, maybe we're a little too critical, but boy, I mean, it's Alaska. Come on. You really think there's a lot of MMA up-and-comers and talent? I don't know, man. But for me, it's Yanez in this one. And as, a heavy favorite, I feel like he's probably one of these favorites that probably deserves to be priced relatively close to where he is right now, which is a rare thing for me, man. I almost will never say that a guy that's, steeper than a -300, steam beyond that point's ever going to be worth it in a cage fight. I actually feel like Yanez probably has some value even where he's at right now. So it's Yanez for me, and I'm going to have some action on him for sure. So we are at the last fight of the prelim main event, if you will. Alexander Hernandez going up against Chris Gruetzemacher. Guru, can you start us on this one?
Yeah, this is an interesting fight again. I mean, Chris Gruetzemacher, I'm surprised to see him back. He hasn't fought in like 2.5 years. I don't know if he retired or what happened, but he's coming back, and I guess he did have the best performance of his career. His last fight against Joe Lozon, he was able to, use his game. To me, it reminds me of like a low-budget Brian Barberina. Like, he's not as good, but comes forward at hand fighting, attacks the body, tries to, pressure you, wear you down. Pretty decent defensive wrestling, but he's not really great anywhere, not a great athlete. He's just trying to bring you into deep waters, and he's a guy, like, if you underestimate him or you maybe don't train as hard in camp, something like that, which Hernandez, he does kind of have that, cocky attitude where maybe he could overlook someone, but coming off the losses, I don't think that, he's going to be able to afford doing that. I think he's going to come in here focused to get the win. And I mean, we've seen Hernandez struggle with forward pressure before and kind of get tired in fights, which Gruetzemacher can do that to people. But I just feel like Hernandez, he's way more athletic. He's been fighting a lot higher competition level than Gruetzemacher, and Gruetzemacher kind of survives off being, super durable, and he has gotten finished like by Artem Lobov, but he eats a lot of big shots. I just don't know against Hernandez if he can eat those shots, and he has been submitted by rear choke 3 times, and I actually bet this earlier in the week. I saw Hernandez by submission was it was at +800 when I bet it. So I mean, I feel like that's like very possible to happen. And I mean, all of his losses are by rear naked choke. I do feel like Hernandez could take him down. And that's what I see happening. I think he's going to probably get a maybe first, second round submission here. So I'm going to go with Hernandez. But yeah, I mean, I feel like he should win. But like I said, I mean, if you come in like disrespecting Gruetzemacher, you think it's going to be a super easy fight. You could be in for a rude awakening, but I got to go with Hernandez here, man.
Yeah, we've seen Hernandez do that before, that's for sure. Cody Safdie, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I think this is the UFC trying to almost get Alexander Hernandez back in the win column. He's a kid that largely operates on confidence, and his confidence is shot to bits right now. I mean, after the Donald Cerrone fight where he talked himself into a fight where he needed to do something, and Donald Cerrone put it on him, it seemed like part of him was kind of taken away. The Trinaldo fight, he wins, very close. If that's not in Texas, which is his backyard, probably doesn't even win that fight. So very close. And then he goes out there against Drew Dober. And again, listen, all credit. He's fighting top guys. All he does is fight top guys. but it's like his confidence is severely shook. He needs to be able to go in there and bully guys around. That's where he fights at his best. And this is at least a spot where Chris Gruetzemacher has been off for 2-year-long layoff. He's a guy that, technically speaking, if we just want to look for skills, Hernandez is way more explosive, way faster, way more athletic. As far as the wrestling goes, Gruetzemacher is wrestler grinder kind of guy, does his best work from top control. I don't think he's taking down Hernandez. As far as him landing a shot, being able to hurt the Joe Lozons of the world, puncher's chance MMA, obviously anything can happen, but there's a difference between Chris Gruetzemacher hitting you and Drew Dober and Donald Cerrone hitting you, right? I mean, we've seen Hernandez take some hellacious shots, and it takes quite a few of them to put him down. He will go down. It takes quite a few of them. So I honestly just feel like he'll have his way. If he has a good first round, that's when you'll see that confidence start building in him. He should just persevere and at least probably get that submission as well. This is just another spot, just like most of the stuff on this card, is that when it opened up, it's Hernandez minus 240. Like my boy Locke was saying, he's got his lock of the night. Hernandez at minus 240 is my lock of the night. But now he's minus 400. The by submission prop, it's now from 800 down to 500. Like, money's coming down. People have realized, geez, you know what? He is the superior guy. And then at what point is it like, geez, he's obviously got a chip on his shoulder. He might be a little bit mentally fragile. He could be on a 3-fight losing streak if not for the Trinaldo decision, but he's 1-2 in his last 3 overall. He's taken a lot of damage in 2 of those fights. Like, maybe at 400 you start to ask too many questions. At 240 you love it. 400 not so much. But hey, we do the show on Fridays. We wait for the weigh-ins. We're acknowledging that we're getting as much info as we can, and as a result, the price tends to change in that favor as well. So I think that the better athlete, Alexander Hernandez, might not be the better fighter, but in this case, the better athlete, Alexander Hernandez, will end up coming away with the victory. Could knock him out, could submit him. I do like that submission prop still, but I could also just see him just giving Gruetzemacher the grind for a couple rounds and then playing it safe just to get back in the win column and getting a decision. So official play, obviously Alexander the Great Hernandez. Not 100% sure on method of victory, but that it's obviously tempting by submission.
Sounds good to me, man. Locke, how you feeling about this one?
I'm kind of bummed that we're all pretty much on the same page for a lot of these fights, and I want to be the guy that goes out there and says Chris is going to pull off the upset here, but he's not. Let's be honest here. He's not. I don't know why he always reminds me of he has a style of a Darren Elkins, but a little bit faster, I'd say. And even when I say faster, it's not by a lot. I think more so with Chris here. I believe he's coming out. The 2-year layoff is due to an ACL injury, so he's coming off a pretty bad injury that he's having to nurse and come back to. And having a first fight back against Alexander Hernandez is probably not the way you want to go. And hungry Alexander Hernandez. Let's not forget about that too. Like Cody had alluded to, he could be on a 3-fight losing streak right now. That Trinaldo fight was not pretty whatsoever. So he's low on himself. He's not really living up to, when he knocked out Benil Dariush at UFC 222. He's not really living up to that hype that we all had about him. Yeah, he went out there and grinded out OAM as well. That's the type of fight that I think he needs to bring here against Chris Gruetzemacher to be able to get his hand raised. Yeah, I think the sub prop is a solid spot here too. But personally, I think he's just going to play it as safe as possible, try to get Chris to the ground, and try to just ride out on top, land a couple pitter-patter shots from the top, and just maintain position. Maybe not overextend too much by going for submissions because you'd be a little bit too scared of letting this opportunity slip away from him. But I love Hernandez in this spot. Like, he's much faster. He's going to be quicker. He'll have the better wrestling too. And Gruetzemacher, he shines in moments against guys like Joe Lozon. Like you said, I believe it was Guru. If you don't take him seriously, or it was Cody, if you don't take him seriously, he's going to take advantage of that. Yeah, I mean, and I think Hernandez is at that spot. Like if this was him coming off that OAM win or something like that, maybe he would get caught there where he's a little bit too cocky and thinking, okay, I'm untouchable at this point. But you're talking about a guy that devastatingly got knocked out in his last fight against Drew Dober. Drew Dober had a perfect game plan and pretty much cutting off the cage and just pressuring him the entire time. And Chris is kind of capable of doing that, but I just think he's not going to be able to stop the takedowns. And that's where Alexander Hernandez is going to start to lean on more often than not in this fight. With him being the faster guy, him being the stronger guy, hopefully the better cardio too. Chris is a gamer for sure, but also you got to take into consideration he is coming off that ACL injury. Who knows how he's going to look after that? And again, this is a solid step up in competition from Joe Lozon at the end of his career to Alexander Hernandez, who's young and hungry and ready to stay in the UFC and wants to stay in the UFC. It would be good for Hernandez to go out there and get a decisive victory, like a submission victory. But I personally think he's going to play it as safe as possible. Just grind him out from on top. Say what you want about Chris. The guy is quite durable. I'll give him that. Yeah, he got choked out by Davey Hamush. Obviously, he's going to get choked out by Davey Hamush if this fight is hitting the ground. But I think Hernandez is just going to play it super, super safe. I like him. I don't mind the minus 400. Yeah, it's a little bit sketchy. I did end up parlaying him with something later in the card just to get better value on that other fighter. But yeah, I think Hernandez cruises here. I like him to win by decision. I don't mind those sub props that Guru and Saftik dropped. But yeah, I think he's just going to play it super safe, get this fight to the ground. And just
I just want to throw one thing as well. Is that he was training in Texas for a long time, or he's probably the top guy in his gym. Since then, he's moved to Factory X Muay Thai. And whereas I do think that's going to be a huge advantage, because it's like now he's in a gym with a bunch of training partners, guys that are better than him, guys that can push him, better coaching staff. He's at altitude, cardio could be fixed, all that's good. But also, remember a few weeks back, Luigi Vendramini fought in the UFC? So Vendramini's at Factory X Muay Thai now as well. And Alexander Hernandez was actually his cornerman for the fight. Vendramini went out there and smoked right through Justin Jacobi. Career best performance. Kid looked like he'd made vast improvements since moving up to Colorado himself, and knocked out a guy that was very durable in Justin Jacobi. It was almost like, wow, immediate improvements, feeling good, looking good. Hernandez was hyped up. You see the adrenaline going through him. My turn's next. Like, I honestly do think the move to Factory X, this kid used to be perceived as a good prospect. He could get back on track. He just needs to get a couple wins under his belt. And listen, Dober could fight for a title someday. Cerrone's fought for the title how many times? Like, those guys are top guys. Where Hernandez just needs to take the slow route. But I'd say he's still my lock of the night, I think. Factory X Muay Thai probably bring out the best of him.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, that was going to be my main point on Hernandez. You know, the move to Factory X, it's vastly important to me. You know, Factory X has been on fire as of late. We see a lot of young dudes coming out of there. Really aggressive. They're striking. I mean, the elevation in itself, the cardio. Cody, you pretty much nailed it, man. The Factory X factor here. I think we're going to see a rejuvenated, possibly reinvented Hernandez here. I think we're going to see a lot of the raw talents that this kid had put to their use, you know, coached properly, going out there and using, you know, these philosophies in their true fighting sense, right? Gruetzemacher, we're talking about a guy older, big layoff, injury. I mean, there's just so much. I feel like I have so much weight on why Hernandez should win this fight, and I'm digging for any reason Gruetzemacher really has a chance in this fight. It's a cage fight. He's got a chance to win it, no doubt. And it's like Guru said, you don't take this guy serious. He's gone out there and won some fights he probably shouldn't, but I tell you what, man, Gruetzemacher's also lost some fights that you look at the names now on the resume, not super impressive. I got Hernandez in this one. Very confident in Hernandez. If you're a subscriber to my channel, you know I have a parlay going right now with Hernandez on it. Yet again, one of these spots where you could have got him at a far better number earlier in the week, but I do feel confident he gets the win here. The pick is Hernandez.
Let me hop in 1 sec as well.
Sure.
And when we're on the topic of training camps, I believe Chris Gruetzemacher was down in ATT before his Joel Ozon fight, and now with this whole COVID thing, I believe he's stuck up there in North Carolina. So that's another thing to take into consideration here. Just another disadvantage for Chris to going into this fight.
Well, there you go. All right, so we are officially up to the main card. This main card replay, I believe, will be exclusively available on odds.com. If you're here watching us live, you don't got to worry about a thing. But if you want to catch the replay, I believe it will be on odds.com exclusive.